Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
How are you today, sir?
I am very well, thank you. You?
Good. Ella or Shelley, any announcements first?
No, I don't think so. This is our last one scheduled for this year. As far as our business owner interviews go. We will have more scheduled again for our next semester, which will be during the January through June timeframe. So stay tuned for those dates. And I think with that, Joe, I think I'll just turn it over to you and let you rock and roll.
Sounds good. And
Yeah.
Melissa, might be around 5 o'clock today?
What are you talking to me? Sorry.
I was talking to Melissa Williams.
Oh,
Hello.
Good morning, Angel.
Where are you? I don't even see you, Joe. I can hear you, but I can't. Oh, there you are. Hi. There's a lot of boxes. Hi.
My Zoom camera that has all sorts of remotes doesn't want to zoom in today.
I wish mine didn't.
So good morning to you all. And Melissa also works with Dan. Say hi, Melissa.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Melissa.
So Dan,
Dan's a rock star, you guys. We're lucky to hear from him today.
ain't that the truth? So Dan, our business owner interviews everyone. We're lucky enough to interview some of our clients throughout the year. We usually do it about 6 times a year to be able to get in the head of an entrepreneur and understand how they got to where they were, what kind of things they consider within advisors, but challenges that they have with families and businesses and all the rest. So Dan, what kind of business are you in?
We are real estate developers.
Cool. And when did you start that? Was that by accident or on purpose?
Well, it was not actually planned. We had been in another business that was, back 20 years ago, gosh, not even that, 15 years ago, we started to see that things were going to change and we were going to have to kind of jog and weave. And so we started investing in real estate a little bit more and flipping houses. And then the development side just came from opportunities that we just recognized as we were purchasing properties to rehab and flip. So we just had a couple of really good deals. And I had done a little bit of developing, 25 years ago. So I wasn't brand new into it, but it was something that I had not woken up one day and said, I think I'll write a new business plan and become a developer. Recognizing opportunity, taking steps.
So very cool. So from what you just told me, you had done other types of business. You took some capital, decided to flip some homes, buy them, fix them up, sell them. And then you started to notice some other real estate opportunities. Were they also in residential or were they other things?
It was just raw land. And so we were purchasing homes at auctions. And so I had originally, the very first one, I had a partner who came in and helped put the money up. And then the second one I did on my own with a investment group or a private investor. So, but no equity. But then from that, there was a friend of mine that came to me and said, hey, I know a person that has some 5-acre parcels. He needs money really fast. And so we purchased those 4 or 5-acre parcels just because it was a really good deal. And then just started looking at the land around there. And it was just a really unique piece of property. It was a square mile of public land public lands that was surrounded by private lands, which is pretty rare. So you could live inside this pocket of private land, but you could get out to the public lands really easily. So I then just started going to the different landowners and purchasing property from them and then bringing in the infrastructure as we went. So.
Okay. And right now, how many projects would you say you have going on?
We have 4 primary projects in all in North Idaho. And we have some things, but 4 development projects.
And then, when you say we, I happen to know is your wife involved in the business and are your kids involved in the business?
So, my wife is not very involved in the business. We have 4 children. 2 of the 4 work full time in the business. So when I say we, it's still even before they started, I always said we, because it's just always felt like a team effort. So
Family money. And then, at what point did the two children come into the business?
Chad started about 10 years ago. He helped with the flipping side of it, and then came, quickly into the development side. So we put in all our own infrastructure, and so we purchased tractors and excavators and things, and so he oversees all that. So it's been about 10 years with Chad. Allison was a real estate agent in well, at the time when she actually started, she was in the Olympia, Washington area.
Right.
Her husband was in the military, and they traveled quite a bit. And so she has been handling all of our contracts and things remotely for probably 6 or 7 years now. And now she lives, they then moved to upstate New York for a few years, and now her husband left the military, and now they've moved back here to North Idaho.
Sure. What's it like working with two kids in the business and two not?
One had actually worked in the business with us.
Right.
And that was just a little challenging, because it was I think it was the family dynamic, that he was the older brother of the other two. So he was the second oldest, and Allison and Chad that work in the business are the youngest. And so as he was going through some things, Chad had already worked for us a little bit longer, but he was the little brother. And, Danny had always done well in things. And so there was a little bit of, I think, challenge of who was going to be the leader. And so
Now, mind you, you hadn't stepped aside yet, but they were deciding who was the sub leader, or were they deciding to replace the leader?
Correct. Yep. So I always called it the wolf pack. The lead wolf is going to get challenged by the younger wolf. So, which happens. We noticed that 20 years ago, even just when our oldest was 15, and we'd be watching TV, and I'd stand up, and he just automatically would just stand up as I walked past him without even knowing it. And then he'd be like, "Oh, I don't even know what I'm standing up for." So he'd sit back down and realize that he was starting to try to see if he was going to take over the wolf pack, I think. So, so we had a little bit of that, but all in all, it worked out really well. So
is that something that you and your wife both noticed, or was it you were noticing it in the business?
no, it was only me that noticed it in the business until I would come home and talk to Karen a little bit about it.
Sure. And is that something you brought up with everybody? Did you handle it one-on-one?
We ended up going to lunch, and Danny had a plan that he wanted to present to me that I felt like was just too soon, because I was still working and thinking I added value. And so I wasn't ready to step aside, and he wanted to do something more on his own. And so I said, great, let's see how I can support that in any way. But he's off right now doing his own thing. And I think he'll probably, come back and want to do some things together. In fact, he and I are having lunch on Friday. So
Good. Now, when you first started what kind of business were you in before the land development business? Before 15 years ago, what kind of business were you in?
So I've been in quite a few. Right before that, we owned some, we had 5 or 6 Budget Blinds franchises, and then we managed a couple more for the corporate office. And so that was something that, going back 10 years before that, I had an internet company that did very well until this internet crash. So, so we went from being, on the top of the world, we thought, to being bankrupt in 6 months. And so one of my clients in that offered me an opportunity that ended up to where I set up some online marketing programs for companies, for franchise companies. Budget Blinds ended up being one of my clients, one of my largest clients. So then when our youngest was going to go into junior high, Karen, my wife, said, you know, I'd like to do something. I've been home quite a bit. And I said, this Budget Blinds looks great. So we thought we'd get one of those franchises, and it ended up being, like I said, we ended up running 7 of the territories. So that's what we did right before.
Traditional entrepreneur, what was it like when you looked at your wife and said, we built up to 7 budget blinds? Well, I've done the online advertising, and now we're going to go to budget blinds. There was that conversation, and then there was the conversation, we're going to stop budget blinds. I think we're going to develop, become land developers. What were those conversations like?
Those did not actually happen like they probably should have. It was more of, I just started doing it, and you know, like I said, seeing the opportunities while we still had the budget blinds. I went and got my real estate license, and that just had to renew it. So that was 18 years ago. So I got my real estate license, and then just started doing this while we still had the budget blinds.
Sure. And then, if I could, what kind of advisors under the CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, et cetera, did you have when you were at Budget Blinds, and did you carry those same to your land development, or was it different?
Oh, completely different. Budget Blinds, we had an in-house bookkeeping system that we had an in-house manager, office manager that did all of that. And then we had a CPA that would oversee her, and then once a year do the taxes and just make sure that the quarterly filings and things were like that were done. So then now with it's just a lot more involved now with the development, with the 4 different projects in different stages and all of things like that. So one of the biggest things that we needed to do was, it was pretty simple with Budget Blinds. You know, it was just a straight profit and loss, but with the developing, we had capital gains suddenly that we were trying to struggle with how to manage that. And so we did not bring anybody from the Budget Blind side over to the real estate investing side.
So how many advisors did you determine you needed, and how did you choose them?
You know, I realized I needed to, you know, our attorneys, you know, I realized that what we were doing with real estate, most of the times when I talked to our attorneys, they'd say, let me find out. They didn't just automatically know. And so then I thought, okay, there's got to be some attorneys out there that know more about foreclosure laws and things like that, because that's what we were doing most of at that time. And then I realized that we needed to take a look at, especially when we started the development side, we needed to have some people that knew about 1031 exchanges and how to help us out with the capital gains side. And
Sure.
so Melissa Williams, our local friend and advisor here in Spokane, just out of Spokane, recommended an attorney that we used for a little while out of Spokane, who's retiring, and then we had another CPA. And so again, what I realized was we needed to find somebody that already was doing this and wasn't going to go through the learning process with me, more of a consultant rather than I've already done it, now I'm going to bring it to you and go from that point. So somebody that actually could, you know, help me say, here's what you should do, not here's what we can do after you've already done it. So
Beautiful. So and you found your financial advisor, Melissa, because she was also a family friend?
she yes, friend, and then also has done some work for some of our close friends also.
So you knew her because she was a financial advisor and financial planner for some of your friends. You also know her, and one day you guys started that conversation. From what I just heard you say, as you needed other talent, you leaned over to Melissa and said, hey, I need an attorney who knows more about this. And so she introduced you to that attorney. How did you find the attorney that knew more about real estate and the CPA that knew more about real estate development?
That was going to Melissa and saying, what do you think? This is what I need. And she was the one that then introduced me to you. And then from you, then we now are working with a couple other people. So.
Sure. And I've really enjoyed our time. We'll talk about that in a minute too. So what is it that you wish you would have known 10 years ago or 15 years ago that now you know?
I should have gone, I should have gone to somebody like you 10 or 15 years ago and realized that, yeah, I'm looking for a consultant again. And that's what I've really learned, just like I just said, is I needed somebody that already knew what I was trying to do and had already done it, not somebody that was going to learn it with me. So that's what I, wish I would have done 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Sure. And then now you have, I would imagine your family brand and your family name is well known in your community. They're seeing you not just flip homes, they're watching you as a land developer. I would imagine that people sit in your golf cart next to you or sit next to you at the barbershop or have dinner and they say, oh, what do you do? And they like to explain what they do. What is that like? Is that happening to you guys more now that you're more high profile?
Yes, we have not, we have not talked about our developments all that much, out and about. And, I'm a member of a country club. We live right here. I'm involved with the board there. We just do not talk business much. And so I've had good friends that in the last, twice in the last 3 months, people that I've known 25 years that go, this is going to be a weird question, but what do you do? And I go, well, we have over 700 acres and 4 projects in North Idaho. And we take big pieces of property and we cut them into smaller pieces and sell them. And they go, oh, so now we've actually finally, especially with the kids now getting more involved, it makes it easier. We've decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and have a website that is bakerdevelopments.us that we will, it's in progress right now, but we'll actually go, okay, you can see this is what we do. So.
Okay, let me
So
go.
you'll start to become more known for that then. Can we talk about some of the work that we've done together then?
The first was and I don't know the terms that you use, but the assessment, I think, is what it was.
Sure.
So, and that, we had gone through and put together our personal financial statements in depth about a year ago. So we had a lot of that done. And so that assessment was us sending that, to you and your team and Anya, and then, going through every single deed that we have and sending all of this to you for the assessment. And then overall, my 2 big wants and needs were, the financial planning side, the estate planning side, and then the tax side. And so those 2 were the priorities. So that, the first plan was the estate side, which is involved. We have 4 children and our 15th grandchild on the way. So, and 2 is with the business, 2 don't. And so that's something that we put a lot of thought into. And I'm the youngest of 5 also. And so, I've seen how our estate went and my parents did a great job, but I also see where I think there could have been some other things done too. So that was, that's first is, and as you and I have talked a lot, the easiest way to say it is I'd rather leave what I've learned than what I've earned to the kids. So how do we do that? And so that was the first really big thing. The second thing is going to be on the tax side. So, okay, how do we now structure it so we can, we're not done. We want to go out and keep doing this. And especially with Chad and Allison, being involved. So that's something they're looking at. So how do we roll money out of one project into another project without getting killed with taxes? That's the easiest way to explain it. So
What was it like having to gather the data? Was it a severe amount of data you had to gather up?
it was just time consuming. So because we have one project that has 84 5-acre parcels, and so we needed to find the deeds that showed what entity actually owned that for each one. So that was just simply going to our records because we have our deeds, or if we didn't happen to have it in a file, because most of those, we don't have a file on them until we sell the project. And I mean, until we sell the parcel. And so we would just go to the county website or the title company and say, hey, please send me the warranty deed on this. So it wasn't that bad, but it was good that we got it all done.
Very much so. And we were lucky enough to work with Melissa, who was our fearless leader in the. There's a lot that you had to consider on strategy. So what is it like when you're hearing these words, these phrases, these different strategies? What is that like? Because we move from gathering everything up and we do a family meeting and we have time with you, and we have a half a day or a day where we're telling you what we saw and we're asking you questions, and then we run off and then together we design a solution.
Right, exactly.
Solution. Then you and your wife came in, and there was this pretty book and there was things on the screen. What was it like as you started to hear all this new language?
It was intimidating, I think, especially for Karen, but reassuring a little bit more on my side, because I'm somebody that recognizes that I don't know what I don't know, and there's got to be things out there that somebody's going to come teach me and go, here, this is it. And so I just knew that there was got to be solutions out there that I wasn't even smart enough to know existed. So that was kind of it. So I was like, okay, good. I feel comfortable that we're heading the right direction. And so then once we got that plan, then I realized this is going to be really involved. And that's when we started talking about maybe doing the family counseling. And my goal with that was to bring, the adult kids down and meet and not go through, they kind of thought that we were going to come into this meeting and it's going to just be numbers and here's what's going on. And I didn't want to have that happen. And not only did you not have that happen, but you took it so much further again that I didn't even realize we could get to. And so what I wanted to make sure is that the 4 kids, that our children, once we're gone, I don't want to have them have any surprises. I don't want them to go, oh gosh, I had no idea that this was going to be this, or I don't want them to ever think, gosh, that's not fair, because as we talked a lot, I don't want to have any entitled feelings, and fair is going to be what Karen and I decide. And so some people are going to be able to handle being able to go out and maybe invest in something, and others, I'm not sure I'm going to handle, as you call it, handling the Uzi to the 5-year-old. I'm not sure, which I love that. So that was just such a really big thing for the family to go out there and meet with you and have you explain to them that, we're doing this for them. We're spending a lot of money and a lot of time making sure that we plan this out. So.
Very cool. If you were to sit down with one of your buddies at the club and they said, I'm struggling with my advisory team right now. What should I know if I'm looking for other people? What would you tell them?
Boy, I would say, do you know what to ask? I think I would want to know from them whether or not they've hit a point to where they think they know it all and they're just looking for somebody to do it? Or are they open enough to say, hey, listen, maybe I don't know it all, let me have an open mind and see what options and suggestions are out there.
Very much. Very cool advice. Well, Dan, I want to thank you for the time that we spent. In the couple of minutes that we have left, if there's a question out there, let me know. I don't see anything in chat functions, right? If anybody has a question, let me know. If not, I'll be able to tell you thank you very much, Dan. Melissa, thank you for introducing the wonderful Baker
Yes,
family
thank
to
you,
us.
Melissa.
It's been wonderful playing with you guys. And for all the audience members, I've received a couple of texts along the way that I've looked at. I've been very grateful for the openness, Dan, that you've had on explaining kind of what you've gone through, and a way for us as advisors to think about things too. So I appreciate that. Dan, you have a great day. Melissa,
Thank you, you too.
everybody else, y'all have a good day. Thanks for spending the half an hour with us this morning.
Thanks for
Bye.
joining us. Bye, guys.
Guys.